scared some. It was different. The power and the presence of God just showed up amazingly, and we just had a great time. I don't know what it was at 1:30. Cody sang a song for an hour and a half or something. But the power of God just showed up, and people were just getting. God was just moving in this place, and some amazing things were happening. And wouldn't it be great if we did that every Sunday? Well, I don't know if I could keep up. No, it would be good. But here's the deal. What really has been showing me is that there's an equipping going on, and I mentioned it during the song service. And he's got plans for every one of us. Trying to figure out where to start, but we're going to go to Acts, I think. One afternoon, Peter and John went, this is Acts chapter 3, verse 1, went to the temple for the 3 o'clock prayer, and as they came to the entrance called the Beautiful Gate, or the Right Time Gate, or the In Time Gate, they were captured by the sight of a man crippled from birth, being carried and placed at the entrance of the temple. He was often brought there to beg for money from those going into worship. When he noticed Peter and John going into the temple, he begged them for money. Peter and John looked straight into the eyes of the crippled man, and said, "Look at us." The crippled man, expecting a gift, he readily gave them his attention. Sometimes we get so used to our walk with God. I really want to talk to us today about expectation. Sometimes when God shows up in your life, we'll miss it because of our expectation. Does anybody deal with negative expectations? Which would you rather be, in a negative state with your expectations or a positive state with your expectations? Obviously, we'd all want to be positive. And so when we're expecting from God to do something in our life, part of the reason why God showed up so big last Sunday was because of expectation. But even in that expectation, in that place, remember we talked about Diane and that she stayed in her seat. She's expecting, she wants to be healed. It isn't that she doesn't want to be healed. And you want your life straightened out, or you want things to happen in your life. But because of the way we expect and we don't see or we don't understand what God is doing in the process, our expectations are down here and his expectations are way up here. And so we show up thinking the beggar, he would have been happy with a few coins in his bucket, right? He'd have been very happy because that's all he was expecting. And then tomorrow he'd have been back at the gate, crippled still. And the day after, and the day after, and the day after, and the day after. Because of our expectations are set for the way God to interact in our life, we continue to stay on a level playing field rather than continue to grow in him. Because it's the way we expect God to reason with us. Do you know that, listen, I read just four chapters in Psalms. They're all short little chapters. They say he's our protector. He made us his very own. He favors us. There is no lack in him. He always provides. There's euphoria in him. He will always come through, lifts us out of our messes all the time. Firm, he's sure, place. He's a firm, sure place. He will not fall, or we will not fall. He guides us. He's a defender of us. He steadies us. Miraculous around us. Blessing upon blessing. He thinks about us all the time. Does anybody in the room think that way, that that's how God interacts with you? Can you believe, just 1 point, can you believe just 1 point that you are never out of his mind? He always is thinking about each and every one. All the time. So what do we do when we hurt? When I stub my toe? Limp. No. Or I say a few things I shouldn't say. Well, don't agree with me. And yet he knows the hurt I carry. Whether it's physical or emotional or whatever it is. He understands the pain that we're going through. Because he's thinking about, we're always on his mind. And so God can show up in a service, and depending on our mental state at the moment is depending on what we're going to get out of the service. So what do you expect from God in your life? Jeremiah 21 or 29:11 says it this way, "For I know the plans and the thoughts I have for you." He knows the plans and the thoughts he has for you. Plans for peace and well-being. Nobody wants that. We all want that. That's shalom, peace. That's completeness. That's what the word means. Completeness. When's the last time you felt complete? Full. Restored. Well. Happy. Healthy. Prosperous. Safe. Perfected. Whole. And at rest. How do we get there? Trust, okay. So here's the deal. He has a plan for your life, right? We can call it a destiny. You will never reach that destiny if we keep dragging this thing with us. I'm talking about my old flesh. My coat, it's coming with me. Do you know what tomorrow brings to you? Monday. Hey, don't be shaking your head, brother. What's God's plan for you tomorrow? To fret about Monday. No, that's not his plan. What's his plan? You see, what the song service was just spectacular because it had the words that led right into what we're talking about today, is because we keep wanting, because we refuse to step into a place of wholeness with him. That means there's less and less of me and way more and more of him. Okay? Because we don't do that, then tomorrow can be really scary. For I know the plans and the thoughts I have for you, says the Lord, plans of peace and well-being, not for disaster. Oh my gosh. So how can Monday be a disaster? But yet we all have a phobia of something. We all have some negative thought about something coming up in our life. It isn't. How do we get to the fullness of God? How do we get the fullness of God to incorporate or to come in and to consume me to a place where I'm walking in his fullness? Is it possible? Oh, yes, it's possible. And what would I be like if I was so full of God, Charlie, you wouldn't recognize me anymore on the job site? You see, we're doing life, but because we don't step into the fullness of what he has for us, we continue to do life the way we used to do life rather than to change and to come into. So the equipping is to take us beyond where we were so our expectations change, because he moves in faith, not in need. Whatever you need, that doesn't move him. Your faith moves him. But he knows I'm hurting, so why wouldn't he help me? He wants to help you. And there are times in our lives where he just steps in and does something which is really cool. But there's times what he's trying to do is progress us so we change the way we live and our expectations change, so we start to walk in faith in everything in our lives. So Mondays don't bother me no more. Stubbing my toes don't bother me no more. They do, it still hurts. When things don't go right, the time where I'm upset or lose. You get my weekly update of my places where I go up and down. It's okay. It's okay. We had a great week. And then Monday just didn't quite go right. Not Monday, but Thursday, excuse me. And we were still getting lots done, but it just was one of those days that I was just like probably tired, trying to engage, trying to get more done, because I always, none of you have this problem, but you want to always do more than you're capable of doing, and that's one of my problems. It's not a problem. It's great to have expectations. And so I had to find the place to reconstruct and come back into God because of the frustration that's happening on Thursday. Because I don't like that place. But I do like the place, and so finally sat down and prayed, and he showed up. Like he does all the time. It's kind of crazy. Because he wants me to have peace. It says in verse 12 in Jeremiah 29, it says, "Then you will call on me, and you will come and pray to me, and I will hear your voice, and I will listen to you. And then with a deep longing, you will seek me and require me." You'll require him as a vital necessity in your life. Isn't that amazing? "And you will find me when you search for me with all your heart." When you finally quiet from the storm, he has an opportunity to reconstruct your day, or your week, or your life. But because of our lack of expectation, we put off the time to get closer to him, because in some ways we just expect, like, well, I'm working too hard, or this should have gone, it's been going too right, or we come up with all kinds of excuses. Now, how can that be? Those are the dumbest things in the world. Excuses, I'm telling you. That's stupid. There's always possibility in him. We always think from a limited standpoint, a lack, a place of lack. I only have this much time, I only have this much money, I only have this much knowledge, I only have this much. And yet with God, what's limited? What is limited in your life? And so we have to engage in those places. It's a scary time. And listen, the one that was the most fearful that day was me, not you guys. He's telling me to pray for people, and I'm walking towards him, and I'm asking him, well, what do you want to say? It's like, oh my God. No, I don't like doing that. And he shows up in a big, big way. It's not me. And really the point I want to make about last Sunday was it wasn't about me. It's about how God will incorporate and use any of us. All the stuff. Psalm 84, verse 9 out of the Passion says, God, your wraparound presence is our defense. In your kindness, look upon the faces of your anointed ones. For just one day of intimacy with you is like 1,000 days of joy rolled up into one. I'd rather stand at the threshold in front of your gate beautiful, ready to go in and worship my God, than to live my life without you in the most beautiful place, or palace of the wicked. For the Lord is brighter than the brilliance of a sunrise, wrapping himself around me like a shield. He is so generous with his gifts of grace and glory. Those who walk along his path with integrity will never lack one thing, for he provides it all. O Lord of heaven's army, what euphoria fills those who forever trust in you. So what do you expect out of your relationship with God? He gave his peace to you. You know why we don't walk in peace is because of the rest of the distractions overwhelm us and we lose our focus on the peace.
It just seems like the closer I try to get, the more distractions.
And there is a lot of distractions. I tell you, there's a lot of distractions in my life. Yeah. There's disappointments and pain and hurt. But through it all, he's always there. His peace is always available. His love is always available. His touch and his presence is always available. And so what do we focus on? At moments, on Thursday, I focused on the frustration. And when I finally found the place of getting away from the distractions and got alone with him, guess what came? Peace. Do you see how it works? There's always going to be distractions. Always. Life is full of them. Yeah. So you step into a place where your expectation is you may have to face a struggle or a trouble, but you know that he's there, and as soon as I can get back in his presence, I'll be all right. What do? We turn on the TV and get the distraction that way. So we add a distraction to the distraction that pulls us further away from this place of peace. Because his peace is permanent. The TV, the boob tube, it is a temporary distraction that as soon as I shut it off, the same with an addiction or a substance. Life is so much more in him if we will just focus. It isn't that we don't have the struggles or the troubles or the frustration of life. We have all that stuff. What we have is an escape from all that stuff so that we can walk in peace. But he wants more than that. He wants us to come into a place of trust where all of a sudden people are changed because we walk into the room. Listen, little Shannon, that little girl, she has the ability to change atmospheres in a room. And so do you. But hers is, it's there. See, the equipping that's coming is to take us beyond where we've been, because we'll never get to where he's called us to be by staying where we're at. And so we have to come into this place. And so it takes us to the place of 2 Corinthians 3:17. He says, now the Lord is the Spirit, and where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty, emancipation from bondage, and true freedom. Who walks in true freedom? We don't even know what true freedom would be. Freedom would be that when the Holy Spirit is tugging on you to come up for prayer, to ask for prayer, to do something, or to run around the church, or to jump up and down, or to shout amen, or to do whatever, that would be freedom, that you would step into that place. But what are we? We're not emancipated from bondage because we're fearful of what people might think, or what might happen, or well, is this right, or what will people think? Here's the one. What will people think of me if I go up for prayer? I'm supposed to be perfect, I don't have any flaws. And yet we all have flaws. And so we want freedom, but we won't do what it costs to get the freedom. Isn't that crazy? Do you want freedom? Well, then grow up and get over yourself. He paid the price for you to get over yourself. He really did. He paid it all. It's all it moves by faith. It moves by faith. I don't earn it. It's impossible for me to earn it. All I have to do is receive it, right? Now listen, it isn't that I can just sit on my couch with my feet up and drinking beers all day and he's going to move in my life. It doesn't happen that way. But when my heart is focused on him, then there's nothing impossible. There's nothing impossible. There's nothing impossible. We don't think that way. We still deal with our brain, and we still think logically, well, maybe not. Or we count the cost. And when we press ourselves into that place in our logic, then all of a sudden doubt has to come back in, and all the fear and all the stuff. That he's set us free from fear. He says, fear not. I've overcome the world. What else do you need? I'm in you. That's the key right there. I'm in you. I've overcome the world. Just keep me in you. Keep focused on me. And guess what will happen? You'll overcome. See, once we start, the equipping is to get us just to change the way we think. It's just to open our mind or our heart up so that what goes on in our head gets overwhelmed with what's going on in our faith, our heart. This is what has to move us. The trouble is we're used to this moving us. What do you want? You want peace. You have it. What do you want? What do you want? You dare say? What do you want? Want the ransomware get out of the college computer system, right? That's what you want. What is it you want? The price is paid for you to move towards the destiny, the plans that God has for you in your life. Plans for peace and well-being. For wholeness. For stability. They're already set in your way if we will just line up with him and seek him. And not sit on the couch and drink beers. I think we all got that one figured out, I hope. Expecting a gift, he readily gave them his attention. And Peter said, I don't have any money. What do you think? It's a good thing he didn't pause, Peter. It's a good thing he didn't pause, because his attention would have diverted somewhere else. I don't have any money, but silver, but hey, what I do have, I'll give to you. What do you have that people would want? The pain, the suffering, the frustration, the anger? Is that what people want? That's what we all move in. That's what all of us want to get rid of, whether you're in the church or not in the church. Or unless you're an MMA fighter. So what do you have to give? You have Jesus. That's what they need. That's what they need. They may need a few bucks, but what they really need is Jesus. Can you imagine how crazy this was, that God took David into his presence like that? He wasn't a priest. He wasn't from the lineage of a priest. But his heart was sold out toward God. And in that time, shepherding, and probably even while he was being a king, learning how to handle the struggles in life, and the only way that he could get through them, his only hope was in God. Would it be possible that he's going to take us to that place where our only hope is actually in him? Who wants to go there? Oh, come on, don't. That's where he's taking us, because that's his plan for us, because that's what the world needs to see. But we're fighting it all the way because we don't want it to be our only hope is in God. We want to be able to stabilize our own lives. We want to have our own way. And we'll come crying to him when we get in trouble, but we don't necessarily look for him too hard when it's all cool and smooth. It's just a training exercise. That's what this is all about. So you'll start to understand who you truly are in him. Who is it that, this is Psalms 25, and I think we read it a while back, but it says, who are they, or who is it that live in holy fear of God? You will show them, whoever it is that does that, you will show them the right path to take all the time. Isn't that what we want? Well, hey, make sure, is this okay? So then when I ask my wife, or I ask my neighbor, or I ask somebody else who's gone through it, and I keep saying, but yeah, God will show us the path. Their prosperity and favor will be their portion. Then prosperity and favor will be their portion, and their descendants will inherit all that is good. That's what we want. There's a private place reserved for the lovers of God where they sit near him and receive the revelation secrets of the promises, or of his promises. So what are we missing? Sold out to God. A man or a woman after God's own heart. It won't flip. This is Psalm 27. The Lord is my revelation light to guide me along the way. He's the source of my salvation to defend me every day. I fear no one. I'll never turn back and run from you, Lord. Surround and protect me. When evil ones come to destroy me, they will be the ones who turn back. My heart will not be afraid even when an army rises to attack. I know that you are there for me, so I will not be shaken. Here's the one thing I crave from God, the one thing I seek above all else. I want the privilege of living with him every moment in his house. Finding the sweet loveliness of his face, filled with awe, delighting in his glory and grace. I want to live my life so close to him that he takes pleasure in every prayer. Are we there? Lord, when you said to me, seek my face, my inner being responded, I'm seeking your face with all my heart. So don't hide yourself, Lord, when I come to find you. You're the God of my salvation. How can I reject your servant? How can you reject your servant in anger? You've been my only hope, so don't forsake me now when I need you. My father and my mother abandoned me. I'm like an orphan, but you took me in and made me yours. Now teach me all about your ways and tell me what to do. Make it clear for me to understand, for I'm surrounded by waiting enemies. Don't let them defeat me, Lord. You can't let me fall into their clutches. They keep accusing me of things I've never done while they plot evil against me, yet I totally trust you to rescue me one more time so that I can see once again how good you are while I'm still alive. Here's what I've learned through it all. Don't ever give up. Don't be impatient. Be entwined as one with the Lord or with God. Be brave and courageous and never lose hope. Yes, keep on waiting, for he will never, ever, ever disappoint you. Psalm 40. Blessing after blessing comes to those who love and trust the Lord. They will not fall away, for they refuse to listen to the lies of the proud or the distractions. O Lord our God, no one can compare with you. Such wonderful works and miracles are all found with you. And you think of us all the time with your countless expressions of love, far exceeding our expectations. It's not sacrifice that really moves your heart, burnt offerings and sin offerings. That's not what brings you joy. But when you open my ears and speak deeply to me, I become your willing servant, your prisoner of love for life. So I said, here I am. I'm coming to you as a sacrifice. For in the prophetic scrolls of your book you have written about me. I delight to fulfill your will, my God, for your living words are written upon the pages of my heart. He's calling us to a place of relationship. But until we figure out who he is and that he's not just up there with the whip or writing down all our mess ups in his book waiting for us to get there so he can spank us in the butt, it's not him. What he's trying to do is get us to understand so that we can walk in peace, so that we can walk in wholeness, so that we can walk in a place of confidence and expectation here, because that's what he's waiting for, is the church to wake up, for the body of Christ, the bride of Christ to wake up and step into their sonship and daughtership of who they are in Christ. His DNA is in you. Don't get mad at me. Whose DNA do you want? But yet, I act like my mother because a lot of her DNA came to me. I'm talking about me. And my brother acts a lot like my father because his DNA is in him, my dad, my earthly dad. Whose DNA do you want? God's. He didn't pay the price so that we would just be the same and still keep doing the stupid stuff my mom did. And she did a lot of good things, don't get me wrong. I did way more stupid stuff than she ever did. Well, at least I think so, because I only knew her after she was like in her 20s. But most of my stupid stuff was done by the time I was, well, maybe I shouldn't say that. Who are you? See, we want the change. We start to cling to the change. We start to see there's a reason for us to come, but because we keep dragging this with us, my mind, the change never really takes hold of me because I'm still dealing with the stuff that took me to the change because it's driving me there. That's the circumstances or the trials in life that God is using to drag us to Him. But we keep bringing this that keeps us from entering into the full promise. And so we lose our peace. When will we let our past actually be the past so that we can actually have a future? Because His plans are for me to walk in peace and wellness. What do you want? I got to finish because we got to keep going. Here's the deal. We started with 2 Corinthians verse 17. It says, now the Lord is the Spirit. We did that one already. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty, emancipation from bondage, and true freedom. That's what we want. And we all, with unveiled faces, continually seeing as in a mirror, an experience. He's not like I can't touch Him, but He's here. And we all with unveiled faces continually seeing as in a mirror the glory of the Lord and progressively are progressively being transformed into His image from one degree of glory to even more glory. How much glory do you want? How much peace do you want? How much fulfillment in your life do you want? How much favor of God do you want in your life? How much love do you want in your life? He's progressively taking us from an experience of Him when He shows up from one place of glory, my understanding of where I'm at right now that got me to here, to more glory so that I can get to where I need to be. How come the thing that we hate in our life that's in us, how come we can't get rid of it? Yeah, because we don't surrender it. It's because we don't even understand that it's driving us, and we hate it, and we want to get rid of it, but with the glory where we're at right now, we can't get rid of it because it's going to take the glory that we have to get to get rid of it so that we become the son or the daughter of God that actually moves mountains. Not like my mom or my brother with his dad or our dad. He's got us on a journey to where we will step into the place to where we actually come into where we're supposed to be. Ephesians 1:18, and we'll close with this. I pray that the light of God will illuminate the eyes of your imagination, your innermost thoughts, flooding you with the light until you experience the full revelation of the hope of his calling, that is the wealth of God's glorious inheritance that he finds in you, his holy ones, or us, his holy ones. What's he trying to do? He's trying to get you to understand the inheritance that you've already gotten, but you won't unwrap it or uncover it because you're still dealing with the stuff of the past and not stepping into who you're supposed to be, the inheritance and his DNA, so you can operate and act like a child of God or a son of God or a daughter of God. What do you want? I pray that you will continually experience the immeasurable greatness of God's power made available through your faith. Then your lives will be an advertisement of this immense power as it works through you. So what can't you do? If you have what can you do in your own power? Some, you built your house. And you had a career, several. What do you think you could do with God's power in your life? A little more? That's where nothing's impossible. In my own strength, I have limits. I'm serious. I have limits in my own strength. In him, he'll make a way. Where there seems like there's no way. Back there, there's no way. Over here, he'll make a way. This is the mighty power that was released when God raised Christ from the dead and exalted him to the place of highest honor, supreme authority in the heavenly realm. That's the power that's sitting inside of us waiting, and that's why he takes us from glory to glory or from circumstance to circumstance, or he shows up in a meeting so that we can come into a place where we start to feel the presence and the power of God. I don't know how many people told me, he says, last Sunday, I never felt this before. It's like, yeah, good. It's a good time to start. It's a good time to start. He's real. And he wants to be real to you in your life and in your circumstances so that you become an overcomer, not somebody that's strangled by the past that keeps bugging us. So who are you? You're free. You walk in peace, perfect peace. You're more than a conqueror. So now Craig's going to come up and talk to us about communion. We're going to have communion. Yep. You two want to help hand out? Phil, I need you to help today. Charlie, will you help also? Whenever you're ready. There's two, so you can take one on each side. There's 4 of you, so good job.
To wrap up service, we're going to do communion together. I just want to read something real quick.